On April 16, 2025, an article titled "Ethiopia's Capital Problem" was published on EthiopiaInsight.com. The piece critically examines the illusion of progress embodied by Ethiopia's capital Finfinnee, exposing how rapid urban development masks deepening structural inequalities, mass displacement, and systemic marginalization of the Oromo people. Drawing on first-hand observations, economic data, and human rights reports, the author portrays Finfinnee as a Potemkin city, an urban facade concealing national decay and repression. While elite-driven urban expansion thrives, the rest of Ethiopia is plagued by conflict, insecurity, and underdevelopment. The article underscores how the Ethiopian state, under the Prosperity Party, has perpetuated dispossession and exclusion, especially of Oromo farmers, despite promises of reform. It argues that Finfinnee's transformation into a city-state reflects a broader collapse of national governance, calling for equitable development, land justice, and a rethinking of Ethiopia's capital-centric policies. The following is a video rendition of the full article.
Finfinnee is a Potemkin city, and an unjust one at that. Ethiopia, often regarded as a rising African power, gives the impression of being on the threshold of transformational change. But closer scrutiny discloses that such change is largely confined to the capital, Finfinnee. The official name is Addis Ababa, and is characterized by structural inequalities, deepening social cleavages, and an exacerbation of historical injustices. On my trip to Finfinnee in January, I witnessed firsthand the speed of the city's growth, which is in contrast to the decline of the rest of the country. I saw a city and a country trapped in a farce of glittering facades and growing desperation. The cranes building luxury skyscrapers in Eret Kilo and the neon signs adorning Churchill and CMC streets are just a veil for a story that is marked by systematic exploitation, violent displacement of Oromo farmers from their land, and a government that clings to power through repression and spectacle. As opposed to the rapidly developing capital city, much of the nation is suffering and decaying. According to a July 2024 World Food Programme report, approximately 13 million people in Ethiopia are in desperate need of humanitarian food assistance, while active conflicts in Amhara and Oromiyaa, along with a fragile Tigray peace deal, continue to threaten stability. The Ethiopian state has a long history of suppressing the Oromo people, which has intensified over the past decade. According to Amnesty International, between 2011 and 2014, at least 5,000 Oromo were arrested. From 2014 to 2018, more than 6,000 Oromo youths were murdered while protesting the government's master plan, which sought to incorporate surrounding Oromo farmlands into urban sprawl, forcibly displacing Oromo farmers from their land. The protests culminated in the rise to power of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in April 2018. He undermined the TPLF, the dominant force in the ruling EPRDF coalition, which he eventually recast into the Prosperity Party. Ironically, Abiy's administration, which rode to power on the wave of the 4-year-long Oromo protests, has intensified these policies. Forced displacements of Oromo farmers have increased as their lands were sold to the settler elites. Meanwhile, PP operatives, flush with profits from these transactions, squander the proceeds on sumptuous lifestyles, flaunting their wealth in Finfinnee's upscale bars and brothels, while displaced families languish in slums. Such a betrayal underscores the administration's prioritization of economic gain over social justice, further deepening grievances among the Oromo people. Despite having an Oromo leader, the Ethiopian state continues its brutal suppression of the Oromo. Abiy promised justice, democracy, and rights, but delivered only more eviction notices. In recent times, Finfinnee has seen a rapid construction boom. Neighborhoods are being widened to improve access for pedestrians, bicycles, and vehicles. Older structures are also getting replaced at an astonishing rate. Neighborhoods such as CMC Road, Churchill Road, and Piazza taunt newly finished roads, while German Square, Gergi Sefer, and Goro Square remain under construction. The rapid development of the city has led to the displacement of established communities, with neighborhoods like Piazza and Mekanisa being bulldozed to make way for new buildings catering to the upper class. Such constructions, driven by the pursuit of high foreign investment, are carried out without full consideration of their ramifications. The government focus is on modernizing the capital at the expense of marginalized groups, including the urban poor, and most notably Oromo farmers, who are dispossessed without fair compensation or resettlement. Per capita energy consumption in Ethiopia is among the lowest in the world, according to the International Energy Agency's report. Despite claims of economic progress, Ethiopia ranks 183rd globally in energy usage per person. Commercial areas of Finfinnee shine with lights all night long, while most of Ethiopia stays in the dark. The Ethiopian government focuses on appearance rather than equitable development, as more than 70% of the population lacks dependable access to electricity. Ethiopia might appear prosperous if success was measured solely by quick changes in its capital city. However, the so-called development exists only on the surface, favoring only a wealthy few while leaving the majority of people in poverty. Government propaganda about economic expansion fails to conceal the extensive poverty, systemic corruption, and regional neglect. The gap between the privileged few and the dispossessed majority is staggering. The rich, consisting of political elites, corrupt officials, and their cohorts, amass fortunes at an alarming rate, while the poor, especially Oromo farmers and politically alienated groups, sink deeper into poverty. The ongoing centralization of wealth and power in Finfinnee has effectively transformed Ethiopia into a city-state to which the rich from various regions migrate to, further aggravating regional economic neglect. The market for luxury items is booming, yet many residents struggle to make ends meet on limited incomes. The majority of people cannot afford basic necessities due to severe economic constraints. A basic macchiato costs between 60 to 120 birr, while shiro is priced at 370 birr, and a kitfo meal at a mid-range restaurant like Johannes Kitfo exceeds 1,100 birr. Rent prices have similarly soared. A one-bedroom apartment outside the city center, such as Summit, requires a minimum monthly rent of 15,000 birr, despite most workers earning less than 3,000 birr per month. Meanwhile, the financial support provided to pensioners remains insufficient, averaging just 2,000 to 5,000 birr. According to a 2018 HelpAge study, citizens above 60 are not covered by any public or private pension plans. Finfinnee is reeling under four competing authorities: the federal government, the Oromiyaa Regional Administration, the Finfinnee Municipal Government, and the powerful Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. This overlap not only drives disproportionate economic and developmental surge, but also ensures better security than any other region, attracting the rich and well-connected from all regions. The city's population has surged to 6 million, a 2.3 million increase since 2018. The result of this fractured arrangement is paralyzed decision-making and unbridled corruption. The EOTC has become a force to be reckoned with, leveraging its religious influence to expand its presence. By transferring a tablet to a new location, the church, in effect, establishes a place of worship, which can lead to claims of ownership or dominion over the surrounding area. This practice has been contentious, especially when it conflicts with local populations or the government, as it not only displaces Oromo farmers from their lands, but also allows the church to seize prime land and operate as an empire without any accountability. Moreover, the church has also been accused of discriminating against the Oromo. The state-controlled media make a lot of noise about economic growth under the Prosperity Party. However, international economic indices tell a different story. According to the CIA World Factbook, Ethiopia ranks 199th out of 222 countries in GDP per capita. A comparison to Mississippi, which is the poorest state in the U.S., and Haiti, often cited as the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere, really highlights Ethiopia's economic stagnation. Ethiopia's GDP per capita, $1,272 in 2023, remains 36 times lower than that of Mississippi, which stands at $46,040. Despite Ethiopia's population of 124 million vastly outnumbering Mississippi's 2.93 million, and its landmass being more than 9 times larger, economic progress remains stunted by corruption and elite resource capture. Even Haiti, long plagued by instability and natural disasters, has the same per capita GDP as Ethiopia, casting doubt on the Ethiopian government's claims of significant development. The government appears to be in control of Finfinnee, but the rest of the country is in disarray. Armed conflict, lawlessness, and ransom kidnappings are prevalent outside the capital. Not even high-ranking officials, who are always accompanied by an entourage of well-equipped security forces, dare to travel outside Finfinnee after dark. Towns like Ambo, Bishoftu, Debre Berhan, Waliso, and Salala have become high-risk areas. Security agents are suspected to be involved in extortion and kidnap for ransom schemes. This is how Ethiopia has become a de facto city-state, where central power is largely confined to Finfinnee, while the countryside remains in disputed control, and the government's sovereignty is effectively limited to the capital's borders. Outside this enclave, kidnapping has grown into a lucrative industry. In a pattern that repeats with near impunity, armed groups abduct travelers near cities such as Ambo and Bishoftu, receiving ransom payments deposited into accounts at state-run banks. This collusion between criminal enterprises and government officials highlights Ethiopia's descent into a predatory security state, where the government acts as both arsonist and firefighter. The current trajectory is unsustainable, prioritizing urban development over rural communities, widening economic inequalities, and the untrammeled powers of religious institutions are all signs of a looming crisis. The displacement of Oromo farmers, rising corruption, deepening economic disparities, and widespread insecurity beyond the capital all expose the fragility of Ethiopia's so-called prosperity. This manic urban makeover cannot camouflage the nation's broader implosion. The mirage of developmental leap has been created through stolen land, rigged markets, and brute repression by the so-called Prosperity Party. As foreign investors and diplomats remain hypnotized by the capital's glitter, Ethiopia stands at the precipice. To achieve true stability and progress, Ethiopia needs to address its structural injustices, most notably the chronic marginalization of the Oromo people and other oppressed groups. As long as equitable economic policies, land reforms, and a commitment to national development are overlooked in favor of capital-based development, Ethiopia's perceived progress will remain an illusion, one built on its citizens' misery.
Thank you for watching. This video is produced and presented to you by BIRMADUU Media. Special thanks to all participants and those who supported this project. Copyright 2025, BIRMADUU Media.